The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Dobrý den, ještě než začneme, tak bych se vás rád zeptal, kteří jste přítomní, jestli vidíte obrazovku s dashboardem Netsparker Enterprise a zda mě slyšíte, tak jestli byste mohli napsat do chatu, zda ano nebo ne. Tak, vidím odpovědi, že se tedy slyšíme, tak děkuji. Začneme tedy webinář. Já vás vítám na dnešním trochu netradičním z nich. Mluvím vám k vám já, Martin Přiklopil, obchodník naší společnosti pp.com. Pokud bych pro vás kdykoliv mohl něco udělat, ozvěte se mi, jak už je často děláte. Kontakt na mě jistě najdete třeba v pozvánce na tento webinář. Ten již podruhé, poněkud netradiční, spolupracujeme na něm totiž spolu s výrobcem, konkrétně Netsparker, který poskytuje svým partnerům a zákazníkům software skener webových aplikací, jež byl dlouhou dobu silnou konkurencí vám o něco jistě známějšímu, alespoň od nás, webovému skeneru Equinetics. A naše společnost se nedávno stala partnerem a distributorem Invicti Security, která tuto pomyslnou konkurenci smazala a oba produkty přijmula do svého portfolia řešení a vzájemně prolnula. Webinářem vás v angličtině provede technický specialista Liam Diamato. Představím vám Netsparker trochu obecně a udělám vám jeho ukázku. Hi Liam.
Yes, hi everyone. Thank you everyone for joining.
Liam, I will say a bit more words.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep. Sorry.
Na konci tohoto webináře bude prostor pro vaše dotazy. Pokud by vás ale napadly nějaké v průběhu, jistě nám je napište do chatu. Přítomný je i kolega Houser, který pomůže se jich zodpovězením. Ještě musím zmínit, že jste všichni stišení, že se webinář nahrává a že vám po skončení jako obvykle zašleme jeho záznam. Pokud vás Netsparker zaujal, něco vás zajímalo, nás určitě kontaktujte, rádi vám například nabídneme jeho testovací licenci, abyste si ho mohli, jak se říká, osahat. Děkuji vám za pozornost a teď již dávám slovo Liamovi. Liam, the webinar is yours now. Thank you.
Thanks very much for your kind introduction. So thank you everyone for joining.
Okay.
So as basically discussed, as you might know, today we'll be going deep diving into the Netsparker Enterprise Team tool. So they will be basically covering the integrations, the workflows, the scanning capability, the schedule scanning, and other features which are available at glance. So first of all, before we even start discussing the scanning, the first point that we would need to cover would be the value that the tool provides you even before starting a scan. And why is that? Since once you register for your Equinetics license, for your Netsparker license key, it will then give you suggestions on what websites might in fact belong to your organization. So in this case, we are previewing what online assets you might have online and running that you might not be aware of and might in fact introduce a vulnerability threat. So using the Netsparker tool, you are ensuring that you are going to capture all of your online websites. And if you would like, you could easily go by the side, click create to create a target and start scanning your website. So basically, we are making you aware of your online collateral. Now, we did mention that basically these are based on email, on your email domain, but these can also be give you suggestions based on the website that you include and scan. You can also add second level domain, organization name, IP address, and also exclude certain level of the search criteria. So that's first thing. If you look at the dashboard now, it will give us a clear indication of our activity using the tool, such as the severity trends, severities, issues, security overview, the average time to fixed, fixed issues, and the most used technologies throughout our scanning. So basically we'll have our libraries, our databases, web servers, and also programming languages. On top, we'll have the total users that are configured, total websites, total scanned that we have in fact concluded, and the total of active issues. Now, if we would like to create a scan, we would need to create a target. So we go in the new website section, we give the name, we enter the URL. Let's take one of our test Sparker websites. And now, just the final steps that we need to do is that we can also include a target into a group. And why is this handy? The reason behind this is that you can also organize all of your targets into separate groups. So later on, you can also create users and then place certain users into certain groups. So therefore, you have the ability to basically assign certain websites that can be accessed only by certain users. You could allow multiple or only one group. You can also select the main technical contact, so who would be responsible for this particular scan target, and selecting cloud or internal agent mode. Cloud is basically the ability to run scans using your cloud resources, while internal gives you the option to select a particular agent that you have installed on your machine, which is available on Windows, Linux, and also Docker. So you can also run internal scans if you have any internal websites which are not yet public facing and are in a staging environment, let's say, and click save. Furthermore, you can also import multiple targets at one go through a CSV file or a text. And same goes here, so placing certain targets into certain groups. You can also create as many groups as you would like, with different names based on how you would like to organize your teams. As I said, you can also create different members. In fact, Netsparker Enterprise supports unlimited number of multi-users. So you can create a new user, give him the name, his email address, his phone number, API access or not, account permissions, scans permissions. There's also the full permission matrix by the side. And the most important part would be the end. So placing a particular user into a particular group or groups. So therefore, he will have access to the group, to the targets that are placed in the QA and production group. And in this case, we can say that this user will have access to view scan reports, and that's it. Obviously, you could also add other scan permissions from the UI. If we go in the scanning section now, we could easily go to initiate a scan. So let's go ahead and configure a scan together. So first of all, we go and select a target. In this case, let's say PHP Netsparker. And we could then set all of the scanning settings at a glance, such as the scanning policy, what type of scan, what type of vulnerability checks we would like to test against our application. There's also the OWASP top 10 PCI check, but you can also create your own scanning policies, which are basically based on what vulnerability checks you would like to include, and also other settings which we'll be seeing later on. The reporting policy. So first we have discussed what vulnerability checks you would like to scan for, but the reporting policy will then indicate how the vulnerabilities will in fact be reported. Since you have the option to first of all edit the impact, so let's say from high you would like to change it to medium or critical. You can also add your custom template reporting. So you can also add certain info on the scanning template. Together, if you would like, you can also add other links or info. So once the scan gets finished, you could report the vulnerability report will then report the vulnerability template that you have created. You can also set the maximum scan threshold. So how long would you like maximum your scan to last? The scan scope. So if you would like to exclude certain portions of your website from being scanned, and you have the option to either click enter path and below, only entered URL. So in this case, if you enter example.com/test, it will only scan the test section or the whole domain. So even though you enter /test, it will still do a complete scan on example.com. Additional websites. So in this case, let's say we're gonna scan a REST API website. The front end is example.com, but the back end is api.example.com. Obviously, since we enter the target example.com, we will not be scanning api.example.com unless we create another target for api.example.com and then add the backend URL as part of an additional website. So in this case, we are increasing the scan scope. Imported links. And this in fact can be mostly utilized when it comes to single page applications or REST API web applications, due to the fact that if you would like to ensure that all your API functionality has been crawled and in fact tested, then in that case you must you would require to import an additional import file into the scanning settings. And why is that? Since most probably not all the functionality will be in fact available through the UI. So in that case, you could enter, let's say, a perp file or a JSON file or a Swagger file. There's also web application description language, which is quite popular when it comes to describing your API structure. URL rewrite, scanning time window. So a scanning time window will allow you to configure when and at what time would you like to either scan or not scan. That being said, there's also some predefined profiles, let's say weekends. So during the week, you will not be scanning, but on Saturday and Sunday, you will be scanning. And why is that? Since you might be scanning a staging website, during the week, the developers will be working on the application, but during the weekend, it might be good timing, in fact, to initiate and kick off scans. Business hours, so in this case, is the opposite. So launching a scan during particular business hours, since the application, let's say, might not be peak hours for if you're going to scan live environment, let's say, or non-business hours. So scanning on non-business hours, your application. Obviously, you could then customize your scanning policy, you're excluding your scan time window as you would like. Notifications. So you can also select, so you can also see what notifications will be applied for this particular scan, but we will be getting into the notification workflows later on. Pci scanning. So besides just being Pci Pci generating Pci compliance reports, we also generate and can in fact allow Pci scan certification. Form authentication. So in fact, form authentication is quite handy since you might also want to launch authenticated scans. So in that case, we could easily set it up by setting the login page URL, click new persona, enter the username and the password, and click verify login and logout, which will simulate two screens, one when the user has been logged in, such as screen 1, and the second screen will be basically simulating once the user is logged out. So that's an indication that it has detected the logout button. We also have custom scripts available. So basically for more complex, let's say login forms, you could easily create your own custom script. Which will basically take the username value variable from the form that we have configured together with the password. And if we click test script, it will basically replicate and will execute the CSS that we have recorded and set by the site. Basic NTLM or Kerberos authentication. So in this case, we're touching base on HTTP authentication. Header authentication. So if you're also scanning API websites, you might also have token bearer key, or the mutual key, or the negotiate key. Client certificates, and lastly, OAuth 2 authentication. Once we have saved all of our profile, you could easily, in fact, save the profile. So let's call it, for example, webinar profile QA, and click Save as New Profile. So next time, instead of redoing the work all over again, we could easily just fetch the profile from the top. And that's it. You can also group scan. So if you have let's say a group of targets in a group, let's say the QA group, which has 4 targets, you could then select the scan policy, what type of vulnerability checks you would like to scan for, the reporting policy, and launching a batch scan. The scheduling scan, so scheduling a scan for a future date. In this case, let's click again on our PHP. We could now select our webinar profile, QA, the profile that we have created together, select full or incremental, scan type. The full basically would trigger a full scan on the web application, while the incremental will only be scanning those pages which have been changed or modified. In this case, it will be reducing the scan time by more than 90%. And why is that? Since we will only be scanning those pages which have been changed. So those pages which remain the same will be in fact not scanned, and only focusing on certain pages. Same goes with scheduling a single scan. You can also schedule a group of scan. So let's select QA again. We can select again the scan policy, the reporting policy, and lastly when. So let's say this will start on Saturday, tomorrow at 10:25. And we can either select this will go on once, a daily basis, monthly basis, yearly basis, etc. So we're also setting a particular frequency. The reporting policy, the reporting page, which will allow you to generate statistical reports based on the time and the end period, and also which period you would like to check for. Let's say annually, quarterly, monthly, weekly, or daily. You can also set a particular minimum severity level and to which website group. For example, let's generate an issues per period report. And there you go. So we'll have the issued per, so in Q3, we had out of band XML external entity injection, we had 45 vulnerabilities. We could easily generate export this report as an image or as a CSV file. You can also generate vulnerability website per period group. And also vulnerabilities website per period. If you look at the technologies section, this is where we have a dashboard of all the technologies that we are making use of during our scanning, which will consist the JavaScript libraries, the databases that we're making use, the web servers, and also programming languages. At the end, we'll also have a trend matrix and also a security overview together with the issues as indication of our technologies that have been reported with the vulnerabilities. Now, the benefit of this is that if we go in the recent technologies, it will also give us which website, which library is in fact out of date. And if you click, let's say, on Apache HTTP server, go to websites, and now let's say click on the severities, we'll also know which vulnerabilities are in fact related to this technology, and since it is not up to date, which security threats it can in fact introduce. Policies. So as I said previously, you can also create your own custom scanning policies, or what type of scanning policies you would like to check for. So you could deselect all of them and select certain vulnerabilities. Furthermore, you can also narrow it down. Let's say cross-site scripting you don't want, but blind and DOM, it would be a yes. You can also set the maximum crawling page limit. The attacking it will do on a single page. The maximum username and password combination it will try, together with the concurrent request. So the request per second it will send, and the concurrent connection it will try. So you have other configuration, manual configuration that you can in fact set for your particular scanning profile. And you could go ahead and optimize your scanning policy profile based on what OS, what web server, application, database, and behavior it has. So therefore you will be running a custom-made, tailor-made profile for your particular target to run in fact much more efficient. Same goes with scanning policies. You could also create reporting policies, which will allow you, in fact, to change its severity, the impact it has, and also make any adjustments to the particular vulnerability, such as including links, including steps, which will then be reported, in fact, in the vulnerability results. Integrations. So Netsparker does offer a wide range of out-of-the-box integrations with issue trackers, project management tools, CI/CDs, communication, and also we have also recently supported privileged access management, such as the HashiCorp Vault. So in this case, besides having these issue trackers, we have Azure DevOps, Jira, Foxbugs, and ServiceNow, which are in fact a two-way street communication. And what is that? So let's go in the issues section for a minute. So in the issue section, we have the vulnerability type, the severity, the website group, websites, URL, first seen, last seen, to whom it is assigned, and the status. If we take a vulnerability, we could easily send it to our Jira platform. Let's open our Jira ticket that we have opened just now. So in the Jira ticket, we'll have the URL, the name, the severity, the certainty, and you can also click on the link to get more info. Now, the benefit of Jira integration, and the same goes with Azure DevOps, ServiceNow, and Foxbox, is that once you close this ticket, the ticket updated will then be reflected back in the Netsparker platform. So in this case, it's waiting for retest, which will launch a quick retest on the vulnerability, which will soon start, in fact, as a way to ensure that even though you made some fixes or you closed certain vulnerabilities, if they are in fact truly fixed or not. In that case, they are being retested, and if they are truly fixed, they will change its status to addressed issues. While if it is not fixed, it will then change the status back to the to-do state. And you can also include, in fact, workflows, which will automatically trigger the vulnerability to be sent back, in this case, to your Jira platform, if the vulnerability is in fact not truly fixed. And then there's also CI/CD tools, which basically falls as part of your development lifecycle. Let's take GitLab in this case, and also Azure DevOps. So in my GitLab project, whenever there is in fact a commit or a developer that in fact has committed his changes to the project repository, whenever there's a new change commit, it will then trigger a scan in the Netsparker tool automatically. So let's try it out. From my end, I'm going to directly commit through GitLab. So I'm just going to write webinar. I'm going to do commit changes. And now I should see the pipeline, in fact, getting triggered from the Netsparker. So for now, I'm going to close GitLab. I'm going to go to my Azure DevOps. I'm going to go in the pipeline. Just select the correct pipeline. Okay. I'm going to go in the pipeline. I'm going to select the pipeline, and I'm going to manually run the pipeline. And in fact, the pipeline has been triggered. So now I should soon see 2 scans getting triggered, 3 if you count the retest scan, which would basically are scans that in fact 2, one coming from Azure DevOps and one which will start from GitLab, like the one that we are seeing right now, which will also include the GitLab icon. So now, until the scan populates, let's in fact find a scan that has been finished previously. So once the scan has finished, you will also get a dashboard view of all the scans that in fact that particular website has been scanned for, which will have the severity trends, severities, issues, average time to fixed issues, and issues which are present. You can also have you can also see the trend matrix report, which will give you the whole scanning results based on the date and the time, which vulnerabilities, if they are new, not fixed, or if they are new, fixed, and revived. And you could easily filter throughout them. And you can also export this to CSV. If we take a particular scan, in fact, this will have all of the scanning results based on that particular scan. So we have the high, medium, and the low vulnerabilities, together with the issues that have been detected, the sitemap, so the site locations which were discovered, together with the knowledge base, which will contain out-of-scope links, crawling performance, email addresses found, cookies, comments, slowest pages, and so on. Now, the benefit of the Netsparker tool is that it doesn't just give you notifications, but it also gives you proof-based scanning on the majority of the vulnerability. Proof-based scanning is basically giving you that extra piece of information which should not be available, but the tool, to ensure that this is in fact a vulnerability and is not a false positive, will give you proof of how this is in fact a true 100% vulnerability confirmed, which will also have the confirmed stamp. In this case, Netsparker tool was able to get the database version, the database user, the database name, and will also include the vulnerability detail, parameters, impact, actions to take, required skills for successful exploitation, remedy, references, and also scorecards. For vulnerabilities that do not provide you with the proof-based scanning, they will instead contain the certainty bar. The certainty basically gives you an indication of how certain we are that the vulnerability in fact exists and is not a false positive. Okay. If we look at the issues also, and take one sample issue, you can also create a whole history on this issue. You can also change the status, see when it was first seen and last seen, assign this issue to a different user and make any notes, and track the whole history of this particular vulnerability together with the issue detail. And you will contain the request and the response received. If you look at the technology section, this is where you could create multiple workflows based on different events, such as new scan, out of date technology, scan cancelled, scan completed, scan failed, and scheduled launch failed. You could select a particular event for any website, a particular website group, or a particular website. Selecting who will be receiving the email notification, who will receive, and those who are receiving the email notification, what type of report will they be receiving? Together with the SMS, and also you can also do a particular format filter. So you can say that when severity is equal, not equal, less than or equal to, or so on, let's say equal, critical. So once a vulnerability is equal to severity equals to critical, once the scan has finished, it will send all my vulnerabilities to my Jira platform, or Jira and GitLab. You could also select multiple ones. Activity section, so all of your scanning activities or all of your activity using the tool will be in fact logged. Once the user logged in, made any changes, created a profile, created a scan, they will all be logged in fact through the UI. Agent section, so this is what I was referring to earlier during our webinar, where I mentioned that you could install Windows, Linux, or Docker agent on your internal machine. Settings, so you can also integrate your Netsparker with Google, Ping Identity, Okta, Active Directory Federation Service, or SAML for your single sign-on capabilities. And when it comes to reporting, Netsparker offers a variety of compliance and standard reports, which are available in both PDF and also HTML. And we also have like vulnerability list, crawled URLs, scanned URLs, which are available in XML, JSON, and CSV. And lastly, we also have the F5 big IP and the mode security web rules, such as a virtual patching for your web application firewall based on the vulnerabilities that in fact you have detected. Great. That's all from my side. So now if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask them away. I'm not sure if we'll be enabling the mic or not. Or maybe you could translate the questions for me.
All right, Liam, thank you very much for presenting Netsparker. I'm afraid that there are no questions at the moment, so we'll wait whether some will come.
I got some.
Okay, Robert, go ahead. A ostatní tedy, pokud máte dotazy, tak teď je přesně ten čas, kdy nám je klete a máme rádi zodpovíme. Případně nám je můžete zaslat samozřejmě i někdy později.
Hi, Liam. I have, in fact, 3 questions which sparked in my mind during your presentation. First, I'm not telling that I'm not fine with it, but this is the question I later totally expect. I understand that the product is made like a cloud-based console, and if in case that you have some websites you want to scan that are not publicly available, you need an agent which is run on site that has the access to the website you are scanning. It's okay for me, and I understand that this feeding back the information to this cloud console. But the question is there any, let's say, completely standalone on-premises version of the Netsparker, or I always have to use the cloud console combo with the agent?
Great question, in fact. So when it comes to Teams is only available. So Teams is exactly like the enterprise version, but Teams is available only online. You do have a hybrid approach, as we have discussed, and basically have all the same features. When we are then, if the customer is looking at an enterprise license key, the enterprise is available either online or on-premise, and with that, you'll also have the ability to request a particular integration, and you'll also have a specific, let's say, support, let's say, prioritization. But the features will in fact remain the same.
Yeah, I understand, because there is no guarantee that there will be the endpoint back feeding to the Netsparker, which is installed inside, in fact, in the enterprise version. Thank you. Another question is just out of curiosity. How do we recognize the underlying language of the website when we do not have something, or at least I think where we do not have something like AccuSensor in Acunetics? So we have nothing which is running on the backside. How do we recognize, for example, that this website is powered by PHP? As of my understanding, if I would do it, let's say, proper way, there should be no way how to recognize what's behind, isn't it?
You would know, since the tool itself does make use of request and response. So during the scanning, it will identify the technologies is being used. So in this case, we have PHP and Abacha. And based on those based on the technologies, we will then make the valid checks based on the languages that the website itself uses. Obviously, each language, it's very easily to I mean, in a way, understand based on the response itself. In fact, you will have the
powered by PHP. Okay, I see the response. Yeah. So from the header. So if I would obfuscate the header, so there is no way how to find the correct scripting language behind, for example, if I would not include it in the response headers in my application.
In that case, in reality, I mean, I think it was to identify it. I mean, because the request and the response. I mean, in this case, based on a certain request that we have sent, we were able to get the scripting language, which is JavaScript.
Yeah, I understand.
And also,
Okay. Okay. The last one, when it comes to the authentication workflow, I really enjoyed the scripting presentation you made. But my question is, how is it? How is the, let's say, proper workflow, or I'd say the workflow in case that we use some kind of two-factor authentications, for example, OAuth, or maybe even just a CAPTCHA. I have to be prompted somehow to use it each time I start the scan. Does it mean that it implies that I cannot use regular scheduled scans for this, or there is some workaround, or how do you solve that?
So obviously, I mean, if you're going to do a scheduled scanning, having a manual intervention to do reCAPTCHA would not be that automated, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I understand.
So in that case, you would have to go for an alternative option. Just for sake of the example, let's say I'm gonna reload the profile back online. Okay. So first of all, if you have OAuth, we support OAuth too, so you can create your authentication using OAuth. If you have a one-time password, you could then create, if you have your secret key, let me just do this, just generate a secret key. Okay, so I have a secret key and I generated a one-time password. Now through my custom script, let me just play it back. Before we go to the submit button, let me just go to this, generate CSS code, and here and just write OTP. So gonna test script. So in this case, it's going to enter the username and the password, and it's going to generate a one-time password in the field that I have specified. Again, these are like variables. So this will take the value generated through the particular form. And then obviously for reCAPTCHA, as you might know, that in a way cannot be automated. Yeah. So what we normally suggest is either use the standard tool, which is available whenever you have the enterprise or the team version, to have that manual interaction, or I would suggest that you would either specify a particular rule in your application that whenever there is a particular sign-in login occurring from the particular IP, it will bypass the
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, that makes much sense. Yeah, great. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Ryan.
No problem. No problem. My pleasure.
Okay, Chaim, thank you for answering Robert's questions. Unfortunately, or it's a good thing, there are no questions at all. You said it all correctly or well. So thank you for joining, for holding the webinar. And let's see each other next time, maybe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks very much, everyone, and have a nice day.
Okay. Bye-bye and enjoy your day.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
S vámi ostatními se taky loučíme. A kdybyste chtěli cokoliv vědět o Netsparker nebo čemkoliv jiném, nebo se vám mohli jinak pomoci, tak se nám ozvěte. Naschledanou.
Díky za váš čas a nashledanou.